Just pull up what I did.
What is the website where you watch the streaming for this stuff?
Spacevidcast.com.
She's a convert, an early convert, slow.
Huh, it's loading my old page.
Try hitting reload.
Yeah, but like really old. There's no reason this would have had that on it. So let's see if I can get that. Okay, so we're here to talk about, we just had a session on basically what NASA's done for us. And now we want to talk a bit about what you can do, not just for NASA, but for STEM education. It goes well beyond just NASA, the space agency, but, you know, I mean, heck, a lot of people don't even know the Russians still go to space, which is a little frightening. Somebody actually said to me the other day that the Russians gave up when we beat them to the moon.
Hey, don't forget we talked about goals, so we have some roads to go over.
Yeah,
Talked about
creating a culture.
Yes, exactly. So, well, I just wanted to start since I pulled this up, because those of you who don't know me or haven't heard it, I wrote this song during the Augustine Commission when I saw what was being recommended and what people were saying, and it was, you know, I'm just a humble songwriter. I don't have degrees. I don't, you know, I read. That's all I do. And I basically just read a whole bunch of information, Wayne Hale's blog and all this stuff while I was watching the hearings, and this is what came out of it. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I hear a lot from people that they don't know how they can do outreach. They don't think they have any special skills or enough knowledge. And my point is that we all have the skills. We all have the ability. It's just a matter of tapping into what you have inside you. And what we really want to talk about is creating a culture that actually supports space, right?
Yeah.
And where people actually know what's going on. So what I'd like to open up to the room, if anybody here, do any of you actively do outreach outside of the space community? Excellent. Give us an example of what you've been doing.
Just finished my talk. I run a think tank at Rice. It's open to the public. Basically, our motto is Innovate, Educate, Inspired, right? But
Yeah.
But I'm going to.
Go ahead.
So, last Dome Show is in about a minute. They're going to do the very last show, so if anybody hasn't seen the Dome Show and wants to do that, I just want to make sure everybody knew this is your last chance.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. You're in a think tank.
yeah. So basically our mission is to basically understand everything that's ever been thought about for space, and come up with some solution for the future. And it's just more like grassroots, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's also crazy, like kind of like this conference, like talks like the science of Star Trek.
Nice.
Or
But that makes people get connected,
Yeah.
because a lot of people watch Star Trek.
Right.
And it's a famous thing, like Lawrence Krauss's book, The Physics of Star Trek.
Right.
I mean, it's a famous thing that Star Trek is a lot better at science than most sci-fi. Most sci-fi is mostly fi.
Well, the thing is actually there's a lot of cool NASA stuff, like missions that they've already done, or the work they're doing right now, that actually when you do an outreach, you find out people are like, what? I didn't know about that. And it's like, well, it's on NASAgov on the front page, and they never visit. Like,
You know what? Let me tell you, I'm a space geek. I've always been interested in it. I spent a long time not that informed, and it's because I didn't know NASA.gov existed. Okay, and now I'm like practically professionally doing outreach. So it's kind of understandable that people don't even know it's there.
I think a lot of it's the flavor that NASA doesn't want to take on. It's an agency everything's tightly controlled.
There's still a lot of Cold War mentality.
Yeah, it wants to be like Department of Defense, but yet it's saying that, okay, we're also pushing, space science and technology forward. And that's, I think a lot of it now is like the commercial space is opening up is that they have they can latch up on the popular media. Like I was in another talk yesterday, I was saying that the Elon Musk guy, he kind of reminds me of the Tony Stark guy in Iron Man.
Actually, Tony Stark was based on him, wasn't he?
One or the other, but he knows that there's a connection between the two, and he's using it to his advantage.
Yes.
Probably nothing like him, I guess, or maybe he is. I don't know.
Well, the movie character, the movie version of Iron Man is based directly on him.
But people's
So,
imagination
yeah.
is fooled by that. So a lot of it's just what strategies NASA doesn't use or they do use now that they could have used to their advantage.
Well, does anybody else find this problem with NASA.gov and I understand because each section of the agency does its own section of the website and it's very disjointed. Like it's hard to find, it's hard to go straight from like a shuttle page to like the Mars rovers. That's true. It's coming together a lot more.
If we also comment like on NASATV, it's boring.
Yeah.
It's very boring. I mean, it's like I like space and I really just can't get into it. Like 2 minutes in, it's like okay, I gotta watch something else. And like, I think like it's kind of hard because we're trying to push like a form of education. Well, not a form of education. It's education. I know. Here's the problem.
That brings up another problem I have with NASA TV.
It's like people have come to the. Oh.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. People have come to the point where they feel that education and entertainment are two completely different things. So it's just kind of hard to like say like, hey, this is good stuff too. I mean, you don't even have to teach them all the entire mechanics.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's actually the opposite is true.
What?
Like when you make people laugh, they retain the information.
Right.
It's not that difficult to just make people laugh, even when you are talking about pretty serious things. If you can find a way to engage people through laughter, through emotion, they're more likely to remember.
I know, yeah, but that's the problem. People don't see it that way. So, am I just thinking like actual like math, physics, space, all that is just like, oh, it's school, it's learning. I'm outside of school. I'm on the weekend. I don't feel like thinking, kind of stuff like that. And so that's how thinking has just, to them, divulged from entertainment.
It's
That was me.
let me jump in on that. It's actually funny because when the great geniuses like Bach or Mozart were composing their symphonies and they were composing their cantatas, they used actually very precise methods of composition where they would take one idea, say a musical line, and they would pose it against a different idea. We actually, I don't know, if you go to Rice, maybe you were there last night, they had a free concert of Mozart. They had his 40th symphony and a really good bassoon solo for the concerto. It was actually really awesome, but I didn't even know they had bassoon concertos. But I mean, what you can do is you can actually using ironies. You can take an idea and you can pose it against another idea. Like for example, one of the reasons that people don't understand what's going on with the budget is because they don't understand how it actually is the case that the planets orbit the sun. People don't actually know this anymore. They've memorized formulas. They've memorized, the distance over time, distance cubed over time squared is, the same for one planet to the next planet. But in terms of actually going through the process of making the discoveries that Kepler made, that's missing. But you have to provoke people. You have to provoke them with a paradox. What is the difference between human beings and animals? and that human beings have a space program and animals could never have a space program.
Well, see, here's like another problem I'm gonna add on. Like, it's now we have to basically redefine what entertainment is, because biggest show that's among kids today, Jersey Shore, basically the Italian real world, and it is, and that's what's seen as entertainment. Stupidity.
And that's the thing. I was just gonna say, and that's the thing. It's like now, like little kids are growing up with their idols is like Paris Hilton and Snooki, and it's like, wow, what a perfect way to make sure to dumb kids down and make being ignorant seem cool.
I'm going to counter you with that one, just to open a topic and
Yeah.
a suggestion, and I've heard people use it before. I will say, even though they look up to Paris Hilton and your athletes and everyone else, I will guarantee you, if you tell a little kid that man in the blue suit went into space without even knowing them, they'll go up and ask for their autograph. I've seen it done. Astronauts are the only people we get in line for to get autographs, not knowing who they really are.
That's a good point.
We just get in line just for the sake of getting in line.
Yeah.
I don't know, but get in it.
You know, actually, I did this thing. There's a movie that's coming out. It's called Unanimous. The site is unanimousthemovie.com, and it's a crowdsourced movie. Ocean Chick 99 on Twitter is making it, and we went to Times Square to do man on the street interviews and see what people knew about space. And one of our questions was, can you name an astronaut? And we didn't get the answer of a single one. From an American, we didn't get the answer of a single one except for Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. That was the only names that they could name. Somebody actually did do that.
Buzz Lightyear was not an astronaut.
Me, but did I say Buzz Lightyear? What am I thinking? I've been hanging out with Buzz Aldrin too much. But that's so embarrassing. It's been a long day. But what I did notice also is every time, because we had a lot of people from other countries come up to us, and almost every one of them could actually name a current astronaut or a cosmonaut. Almost every single one, whether they're from India or Denmark or Japan. They actually know about NASA. They know information about NASA that almost no American knows. So what's the difference? What are they doing over there?
I also want to add that there was a Gallup.
The Great Divide. Okay, there was also a Gallup poll that said 18% of Americans, or whoever took the poll, 18% of which believed that the sun revolved around the Earth.
You know what's sad about that
Yeah.
too? Is, I can talk loud enough. Oh, I didn't
It's
say
for the
too
people
much.
at home.
I'm sorry. I'll talk into the mic then. Going off of this, people from other countries know our astronauts, and we don't. And, some of us don't even know that the Earth orbits around the sun. They think it's the other way around. What's also interesting is that I believe the United States is the only country that publicly allows their citizens to come watch a human spaceflight launch. From what I understand, they don't let their citizens in Russia come out and watch, do they? Yeah, but I mean,
Well-
if people wanted to come out and watch, would they let them come out?
Well, the opportunity is good, but it's just a fact. Okay.
The opportunity is good, but it's just the fact that general knowledge. I mean, this is like basic.
Yeah.
It's like the basics of basics. They don't know. I mean, I'm all glad that the opportunity that we could see a launch is there, but because our culture is so prone to apathy, it doesn't like really matter to them. Not to them, us in a sense, but it's just that, just the fact that we don't know that the geocentric model has been tossed away centuries ago is problematic.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank you.
the one thing that's interesting about that is, like I said before, my students told me that there was 0 degrees latitude between the equator and the North Pole. That's also very simple and basic stuff, and I got that answer back on a sheet of paper 6 times. So that should tell you something.
Well, here's
For the
something.
people at home, can you please tell them how many degrees in between?
For at home,
Yeah.
there's 90 degrees north from the equator, 90 degrees south from the equator.
You heard it here, folks.
We
Well,
are
here,
a round ball.
This young lady here in the front was bringing up a great point.
Well, I was just saying,
Yeah.
I was just saying, I think everybody here at Space Up Houston knows all of these problems. And I think where we need to generate or put our energy in is, where do we go from here?
Yes,
You know,
Right.
Space Up Houston is kickoff. What do you do in your daily life? What can you do to help get that? I mean, we've got people out there. We have issues with the government. We have issues with a government-run agency putting people in space. Okay, and there's all kinds of people out there trying to fix that. But what do we do in our daily lives that we can impact that? You know, I told them earlier, I saw people come up to me in Houston, ask me where they launched the space shuttle from. And they live here, you know? So,
I mean,
it's
so
not just
yeah.
tourists asking you that.
hear it if they actually
Or my
launch-
favorite one, we still have a space station?
Okay.
Wow, you
And-
know, we just built it.
To help Susan with her question, for those of you in the chat room, if you have suggestions for us or ideas, you're part of this Space Up too. So we have people in here watching, so start feeding us suggestions.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to throw it out there of, Susan brought up exactly what I wanted to be really talking about.
Let's do this.
What can you do? I'd like to hear, directly from you. What can you do? What, okay, I can write songs. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm going to continue to do. We all have some sort of talent, even if it's not public speaking or the arts or whatever. So think about what you can do, and I want to pass the mic around and get everybody.
Well, actually, I
Hey.
wanted to also, at some point, I was going to give a presentation on some of that stuff, too, because
Oh, yeah, do that.
we all got things to contribute. Yeah.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, do that first.
Actually, like this? Okay, like you were saying about what should we do? Well, actually, I went on YouTube the other day, and I think YouTube is like the greatest thing because anybody can go on there and upload their own video and stuff. And my think tank, I actually come up with like my own music videos. I mean, it's just they're all kind of dorky. I made one called like Pimp My Capsule. And, yeah, the Apollo guys. Yeah, there's another guy that did ISS Baby. I thought it was pretty funny.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but I want to feed you some suggestions to bounce off of from the chat room. We have one that is very strongly saying, NASA, stop using acronyms.
That makes sense, yeah.
Let NASATV go private and let real producers and people who know what they're doing.
Yes. That came up at Space Up DC, and we were actually talking about, why doesn't NASA hire people like Space Vidcast?
Yes.
Because they could actually do it for less money. They're doing it out of a labor of love.
The only money they have to do NASA TV is
Right.
educational outreach.
But what I'm
Focus into those dorky little kids shows.
But like Space Vidcast could do it for cheaper. They know how to do it on a shoestring. And there's other people who are doing great things, and they're spending all their money to do this. So obviously they could do it on the cheap. I mean, it's all out of Ben and Carrie Ann's pockets that they started this.
Okay, I got to make an intervention. I'm going to make an intervention because the political fight is the key, and if we're not taking on that there is a political operation to shut down NASA from the people who are receiving the bailout, if we don't take on that fight, we're never going to actually solve the problem. Because what NASA represents, and we all know this, we've all talked about this, is that NASA represents a culture of progress. And it's not in the details, it's in the process. The process by which NASA does what it does is, you can say it is how mankind progresses. And we don't need to go through all the examples because everyone has 20 of them. But what I want to bring up, and I think we got to talk about this because it's one of those things where it's never really, the connection is almost never made, is that what's happening right now with Wall Street bailouts, what's happening with budget cuts in every state, where every state is going bankrupt, and they're telling them you got to cut your budget to education, you got to cut your budget to NASA, you got to cut your budget to transit, to public health. This is related to the existential crisis that we're feeling here with why don't people get it? Why don't people understand that what's happening with our budget cuts is detrimental to progress? And I think we really have to draw that out.
Well, we do, but that's the thing is, if we don't educate the everyday people, Congress is never going to change the way that they do things. If you actually have the people who vote for them knocking down their door saying this is the way things need to go, things are going to change. But if you don't have those everyday people, then the powers that currently are going to continue to be the main power. But if we make it clear that these people can't get elected unless they support what's actually good for us, not necessarily for Wall Street, if we can make them as scared as Wall Street makes them, because right now Wall Street decides who gets elected. We can't, if we let that continue, we're never going to get what's good for us.
Right. So,
say something along alongside with what has just been said, is that, it is true that, let's just be honest, every single individual, one by one, this problem is not going to get solved. If everyone as an individual just started doing their own individual thing, realistically, the whole situation is not going to change. What's necessary at the moment is all the individuals coming together collectively, and only as a collective force, only as a movement, will the situation is the situation going to change? And you have examples of this going on in the world right now. You have the situation in Ireland, for example, where a party which was seen as being too radical, a party which was considered to be terrorist, actually, at the moment right now, they're going from 1% popularity to 30% popularity. You also have
the Republican Party of Ireland, the Sinn Féin, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the Sinn Féin. Yeah, the Sinn Féin party. You also have this in Egypt going on right now, where you have a mass movement of a population, mostly young people,
And
reacting. And
they
so
changed the world. This group, those citizens out there, they changed the whole world, not just their own country, really.
And so that's just, I'm just bringing those up as examples to sort of just provoke our imagination on what is necessary at the moment. It is a nice thought to have the idea of everyone individually doing their own altruistic thing to save NASA, but really what's necessary is a body, a movement, which will do like what's happening in Egypt or in Ireland, to come together and fight. And the nature of the fight, yes, it's scientific, yes, it's cultural, yes, it's against stupidity, but to get to the core of it, you're going to have to find out, well, why exactly? I know that naturally human beings aren't naturally stupid. I know that they're not naturally, that they're not naturally stupid or beast-like, and so though at times they act like it in our society, in our day of age, your next-door neighbor might be an animal ready to eat you. But really, what we have to think about is if that's not the nature of man, then what kind of sick operation has been taking place to make people in the United States stupid?
Well, here's
and
my
this gets at the core. This gets at okay.
And how do we beat that operation?
What's interesting to his point, sorry, mic thing, thank you for getting. You counteracted the point and you said, we're not stupid, but what is making us stupid? And this is a twofold point, and I know I'm probably going to get chewed out for this one.
It's okay.
But the technology that comes out of this is what's making us stupid.
Drop it.
We're getting very reliable on it.
Okay, I'd like to say one thing. There's a big difference between stupidity and ignorance. Huge difference. It's making people ignorant, not stupid.
It might be making them.
But, that's the thing. Like, I always say there's a big difference between being ignorant because you haven't had the opportunity to learn and being ignorant because you choose to refute what we actually know.
That's true, but I think in this case it might be having a stupefying effect on the
Yeah, because we have entertainment on hand at all times.
Entertainment, makes people stupid.
Google right here at all times.
But if you actually know how to use Google properly, you're not stupid. Utilizing information is, and finding information actually is the most important skill you can have. It's just, what are you looking up on Google?
I have something to say. For so long I've watched like politics and NASA. You mentioned politics. Well, Obama had that speech about like how Americans should outproduce, out-innovate, basically come up with all the great ideas of our planet. And I think that's the selling point for NASA is that if they can latch on to the president's plan and become like a focal point for education, for furthering people, fostering people to go into the tough fields, the fields that nobody wants to go to because they're tough. NASA could be like the ambassador for his plan. I just think that they haven't really tapped into that. I mean, I always look at NASA as like, wow, these are smart people,
And they have some really talented education officers and such, really, really talented, who need to be tapped more.
So, like you're saying, politics and popular media, there's a big disconnect, and our society gets dumber. It seems like what everyone's saying. Why not use NASA as a way to counter that and support education? I mean, space isn't just about equations and formulas or finding black matter and stuff. It's also about, expressing the human, ideal to go.
In fact, Sarah has the perfect little anecdote about that exact thing of NASA's not just, what did your 8th grade teacher say to you?
I didn't do math and science, and that NASA was just physics, and if I didn't get it then, I would get it.
That's not true. I mean.
Yeah, she just interned at NASA.
I was talk yesterday about Hubble. Hubble brought back all these great images. It showed us where the origins of the universe, where we came from, and some would say even maybe the beginning of time. I mean, that has, when you put it in those terms, that's kind of like more philosophical. It's not, science just for science. It's actually more about who we are. Where are we in this universe? And that's the great thing about space exploration. It defines where we came from, who we are, how blessed we are to have the Earth. And we go out there, we send these pictures back. It's like a desolate wasteland. It's like the moon has nothing. They say maybe bacteria can live on that in the environment. Well, but what do we have here on this Earth? We're destroying it. With pollution and famine and stuff like that. War.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that the biggest environmentalists are astronauts who have flown? I always think that's very significant, especially with the people who are against environmentalism and don't believe in climate change and all that. And you notice everybody who's left Earth and looked back at it comes home a huge environmentalist, like the Fragile Oasis crew. Did you?
Hi. Is this on?
Press the mute button.
Is the light green? Then it should be on.
Oh, I just wanted. As an example, I guess science is viewed as having a high threshold, and a lot of students and people in general decide it's not worth it putting the effort in. But as an example, that people are great at kind of arcing across the topic and seeing big pictures. And I'd say people understand amazingly about the dinosaurs. Okay, meteor hit, it put all this soot in the atmosphere, it's kind of a nuclear winter type of things. The large animals died and the small mammals survived. So that's essentially correct. And I would say if you did a survey, like a man and woman on the street survey in New York, most people would know that. And so that would be an example of people, a pretty complex theory that was not known 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And so, I mean, we have to wrap up in I think we're supposed to already be wrapping up. But I would like to ask people, since we've been here I don't know if everybody's been here absolutely all weekend, but since we've all been here talking and brainstorming, and I want to know, what are you going to do starting tomorrow? What are you going to take away from what we've been discussing and all of this, and how are you going to implement it?
Go for
You have a mic. It's getting to the people online.
Here's something I'm going to take away, is that something really important, just as a casual, everyday person, is to always when you find something cool, space related, just show it to everyone you know.
Yes.
Throw
You
it
know,
on Twitter and Facebook and just say, look at how cool this is.
or here's one of the best little tiny tips I can give anyone. Wear a NASA pin. You know, so many, or a patch, or something. You have no, I mean, every time I go out wearing something that says NASA, t-shirt, whatever, people come up to me and ask, oh, do you work for NASA? And they start asking me questions about what's going on. It can be that simple. And like you said, as an everyday person.
Yeah, and that's just something you can do every day, because I try and throw up all the space stuff I see on Facebook and just say, hey, tell all my friends, look, there's a space picture. That keeps it sort of in your friends' minds, and if they share it with their friends, then you've got something going.
Here's also another thing that people could do, is that we talked about how we should think of ourselves as sort of as a catalyst for some form of a social process, which we as catalysts will make, as a social force, will make that which we desire to become reality, i.e. the discovery, space exploration, NASA, to be fully funded. We should be the ones that assume the responsibility to do such. And I want to just throw it out there that what we could do, what all of us should be doing, is bringing as many people, bringing yourselves, but bringing as many people as possible to this conference, in which we're going to be discussing, for example, what you had said. There's so much to do, even here on Earth. We're discussing something which we're going to be taking on as a project, which will be 20, 30 year in the making, this project for it to be completed, but that this project will act as a launching pad for then even further investigation out in outer space. And so the conference is the NOAAPA conference. This is the North American Water and Power Alliance conference. And this is taking place March 5th here in Houston, about 5 minutes away from here, the Freeman Branch Library. We have flyers that we can give you, and if you want to take extras, because you know that this is something that you're taking on as a challenge, if you want to take it on as a challenge for, okay, this is something I could do, I could start passing out these flyers and inviting people to this conference. You know, we can get some extras from us. But we also have a website on this flyer, larouchepack.com, in which it'll go through NOAAPA, lots of information on that, and also details on, for example, the kind of legislations that need to take place from D.C. in order for something like this to even occur. Because at the moment, you talk to some politician about this, they're immediately going to say, yeah, right, we don't have enough money for it, buddy. But the irony is that, well, this is a project which will enhance not only plant life in the desert, but human life in cities and economic development. And the thing to point out is that there's not enough money to even keep grandmothers alive in our society. There's all that hyperinflationary money which has no value, and so the value of a human life, there's no value for a human life in our society. So therefore, yes, we don't have enough money to keep people alive, much less build for the future. So if you don't have enough money to keep those presently living alive, then what makes you think that we're going to try to make an investment to keep future generations in the direction of progress? It's ridiculous.
And if you want to change that, you should come to our conference, and we should all keep in touch after this conference.
Yes.
As like all of us, like let's exchange numbers and let's organize with each other, keep each other moralized and on the page, and working together to change society. Like, okay, we had a conference, we all got together. What's the point of having a conference if you just go back to your separate ways and you don't actually maintain a working relationship? Because we all know saving NASA, saving a mission for mankind depends on us. We're the ones who have to make it happen. Because right now, you see the population's not doing it. You see the Congress isn't doing it. We're the ones who are really driven to pay money to come to this conference. We're the Gideon's army. You know, we're the few, the proud, right? We're the ones who are going to take it on, and we got to stick together on that.
Yeah, that's why I pulled up this page, and we've got to wrap this up. We're about to do our closing stuff, but I wanted to bring this up for anybody who's not a member. Go join. It's free. There's great articles. You can become an author on it, and it's a great way to connect with people on this site and on Twitter and find like-minded people that you can wind up working with. on these exact things. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows about that, anybody who might not already.
And then also, just so that I can stay in touch with some of you people, some of you guys, if you guys would like, I can pass this around with the red pen, and then please leave your name, number, email, and I'd like to stay in contact. And I mean, it is a good point to make that we shouldn't just pretend, we shouldn't move on and pretend this conference never happened, that we didn't meet each other, that we didn't have these discussions, that we didn't challenge each other. Because that's, if we just move on forgetting that this ever happened, then
what's the point?
What's the point? Why are we just here to just kind of just, just to blow hot air from, from out of our mouths or something like that? No, we should stay in touch, and also just keep in contact so that we can continue the dialogue and keep challenging each other, so that it wasn't just like the challenge was put out there and then we didn't follow up with each other like, hey, whatever happened? Didn't you say you want to save the program, the NASA space program? Oh, you changed your mind. That was quick.
We all have different talents and skills. If we can put them together like a puzzle, maybe we can actually be a lot more effective.
I'm running another space conference at Rice, another think tank thing, probably in summertime. I was wondering if you would be willing to spread the information flyers through
Yeah.
the Space Houston or whatever that, if I could give you my contact information.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Free advertising with that website.
Yeah, seriously, list it on here.
Because
That's one of the best things you can do.
well, the conference that I run is it's kind of similar to this, except it's more geared towards college students.
This is how a lot of us know each other
But it's open to the public.
and have worked together. This is public, by the way, this site. I mean, I'll hook you up with the info on getting on it. But there's a lot of college kids that are members, too.
We can just bring up this forthright, if I could, the conference about the water and power.
Yeah.
I mean, straight up, I see that it's supported by the Lyndon LaRouche PAC.
Yeah.
And so the question would be, would non-LaRouche supporters be treated with respect and equality? Just explain that.
I mean, unless you're going to come insult me, I mean, what do you, of course.
Only the non-serious will get insulted.
Well, thank you very much, guys. It's time for our closing ceremonies by our lovely hostess with the mostest. And I'd also like to give big thanks to Cindy and the whole team. This has been an amazing weekend. And awesome food. And plenty of coffee.
Do we turn out the lights here?
Okay, so if I could have, I need the slide with, that we started with yesterday morning.
A.
Yeah, you should really listen. People would be really interested. And I can help you get set up as an author and stuff.
Okay, so I need somebody to go round up everybody else.
Let me put my computer down and I'll go run around. I'm loud.
Yeah, can you just pass it around? Sure.
Just watch the trouble, make sure she doesn't get in trouble.
There's a session that's been going on for over 2 hours, so it's just that good. He's not.
Do you know which one it was?
It was how do rockets work, and then they talked life support, and then I'm showing you other areas.
And that's the hardest part, because I found this one, right now, and it was like $10. But there's no fold.
And also.
Oh, you can hold it?
They always say that Mars even for that
Oh, just seeing Amazon just reminded me I should start checking to see if my stuff's up.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the only thing they learn from the space station.
In fact, I might need to enlist your help again looking for it on iTunes. Yeah, they're, yeah, if they're orange, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I just read it.
It took me a while to figure that out. Even funnier, I forgot.
Cyber acoustics, ledger, iPad case. I can't remember how much it is. Yeah, I think it's really good. Yeah, it comes with red and, yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Remember, yeah, the cats. But yeah.
Even dogs.
I was worried about this. Just crap. Really, it's gonna hold us, but not very much back. That's my main thing. I need to get
Yeah, it's exactly like the right height I want, everything. Cyber acoustics.
Yeah.
I'm gonna thank you.
You bet.
Yes.
I need the slide that you made that we started off with yesterday. Is it on this computer?
Probably on the
Did we
desk.
change computers yesterday?
I have no clue.
It looks different.
If not, I can pull it.
And Ben, the streams were recorded in all the rooms, but they haven't been uploaded. I've been told to give you that information.
I don't see the slide. I don't see the slide here.
Face words. Oh, I mean, Twitter? Twitter, Facebook, Foursquare, MySpace, client. Oh, yeah, I've never used those, so I forget that.
Basically, it does everything.
You have multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can multiple accounts, you can.
Where is